Mayor, off you go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Hobby Breakfast Show. I'm here, the Mayor, with our guests, Onod.
We're the co-hosts.
Say hi. I don't have this written in front of me.
Oh, this feels so wrong.
There's no script.
I'm sorry, I'm riffing. I'm riffing as well. I was so unprepared for this.
Oh,
Just cut.
I tried. Look, you put me on the spot.
that was a good effort. I did put you on the spot. We'll have Pete's attempt now. He's just fucked off. He's properly filled that pint glass. Jesus Christ. Oh, he's fucking naked. Good morning and welcome to the Hobby Breakfast Show, kicking off your morning with Wargaming chats. Your hosts this morning, as always, are me, Onod, and my co-host. We have the Mayor returning from holiday.
Good morning, everyone.
And we also have OT.
Hi, guys.
Everyone's least favourite member of the podcast.
Well, that is prevailing opinion.
And we're going to be chatting about today, as always, a bit of news, a bit of hobby, and we are going to be looking a little bit later on at some Legendary Legions. We're going to be finishing off Gondor at war with our tier list by looking at the Spooky Boys and the Ranger Boys, but not the Ranger Boys we've already spoken of.
Different Ranger Boys.
Different Ranger Boys. Good. Right, we'll start off with, I think, hobby today, because news is going to kind of run into something that we're going to be talking about slightly different.
OT's literally admiring his work as we speak.
Yeah, OT is
quite right.
And doing hobby as we speak, which is fair, you know. Let's start off with Mayor. Mayor, what have you been up to?
Well, other than being in Rome, last night I finished painting my Tau. So they're all white and black, like the Pathfinders on the box. I'm never going to paint white again because it's a pain in the ass. It looks pretty good, but I think I've got some like weird texture coming off of some of the paint, which is a bit weird. But yes, so my Tau's done. Sorry?
Did it go chalky?
It kind of goes a bit. Maybe I just didn't thin it enough. But it's almost got like a physical 3D texture as opposed to just going on flat. Yeah, the white is not ideal, but I'm happy with them anyway.
Which white paint did you use? Just out of interest.
The white scar, I think. It's like the whitest white.
Because I deliberately avoid using the Citadel whites just because they're awful.
Yeah,
I mean, they're just not smooth. They just don't go on right.
They're not smooth. I'm literally only going to be using white from now on to mix with other paints to make them a bit lighter for highlighting. But yeah, so
they look very, very clean though.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I think the mix of having to do the white highlights and the fact that Tau have all of the like little square edges and weird geometric shapes makes it really tiresome. And I think each model probably ended up taking 2.5 hours each, like which makes it sound like they look really good, but they don't look like they've taken 2.5 hours, but they have.
They look pretty good, I'd say. At this point, I'm just going to quickly ask OT, do you need like an ambulance? Are you okay? I think he just was choking on his fight.
I'm just remembering the conversation you and me had on about a rhomboid and what a rhombus was last night. That's the half an hour of my life arguing about what a rhombus was.
Oh, we don't need to get into that. No. Right, so we've got the Tau. Good. OT, what have you been painting this week?
Well, I've been working. I finished off my previous Riv Night, and then I've moved on to another one. I haven't even painted one whole model, and it's taken me like 4 or 5 hours. Like it's been a lot of like chopping and changing. I've been trying lots of different things. Actually ended up nicking an idea that Mayor suggested of like hemming the cloaks in gold, which I think has ended up looking really good. Because
This is on your Riverdale Nights, so the people
Yeah.
don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, be a picture edited up on screen as
Oh, yeah.
last episode.
Enjoy that, people who aren't on Spotify.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that's a problem. Anyway, so the cloaks are light blue, and I've looked at various ways of trying to highlight onto light blue, and it just seems to be a bit of a non-starter. So instead, I'm trying to add different details to make the light blue look a bit more interesting. But yeah, that's been my project this week.
And how many have you got to paint? How many have you got right now? How many is sitting there waiting for your attention?
Well, I took delivery of. Oh, can we talk about UPS, or are we going to save that?
No, let's. I want to hear about it. What happened?
I will cut it because.
Tell us about your incredible experience.
I don't know. I think the way we deliver mail in general in the world is fine. But this reliance on specifically UPS and DPD by a number of companies, I still find to be very troubling, because in my mind, there's like a tier list of delivery companies.
We're not doing a tier list of delivery companies. I'm shutting this down. Yes, fucking say what you don't like about UPS and move on. Jesus Christ.
So anyway, Royal Mail are S tier.
I agree.
Yeah, and Amazon, fair play to them. They're a conglomerate trying to take over the world, but they do deliver a good parcel. So you know what? For that, I credit them. But UPS and DPD, I've had awful experiences with, and literally the balls on the delivery guy. Like, I'm not bashing people who like work for UPS in general, but the balls on the delivery guy to just leave my parcel like basically crushed on top of my letterbox. Not even in the letterbox, on top of the letterbox. Fair play to him, because I would have felt like mortified even having that package in my hand. But
did he try and shove it through your mailbox as well? Is that why
I don't know. I mean,
so
if he did, and that's how it caused the damage, this man is inhumanly strong. Because my God. But yeah, thank you to the folks at Forge World. I rang them like 4 or 5 times. They didn't tell me to just fuck off. They actually listened to me, which was nice. But yeah, I'm hoping to get some money back potentially, because it was a bit of a shit show. But yeah, I've got Glorfindel and Elrond and stuff. And
Glorfindel's fine though, right? You built him.
Yeah, I've stuck him together. He all looks fine. Yeah, although legally I'm not sure I should say that. Maybe I should say there is damage so I can get some money back. I don't know anyway.
I'll carefully cut.
But yeah, so I've got 12 Riv Knights and then Glorfindel and Elrond to do. So based on this, they'll be done sometime in like mid-April, based on my current rate of progress.
I think you'll get through them pretty swiftly once you've got your process down.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping you'll have them done by the Christmas tournament, because I want to see them.
That's an ask. That's an ask. Because like the difference with these knights, and I think I've said this previously, is like the level of detail that you can see on them is really different. So for instance, like the 2 armies I've done recently, which were Mordor and Angmar, have just involved like loads of orcs. Like in total, I've painted, I think, like 55 Morannon and Mordor orcs combined or something. Like, whereas these, you actually have to, like pay attention and
you get
paint with care.
You're suffering from what I had to do with my Rohan, where you have to paint 3 models for 1 model, really.
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to Glorfindel. Like, the reviews I've seen on social media and YouTube, like, everyone's really enjoyed painting him. I just want to make sure I like do a good job, so I'm going to leave him till the end once I've got my eye in with the Riv Knights, and then hopefully I'll do a decent job, because it does look really cool. So yeah, that's me.
Cool.
Brilliant. I've actually done something this week, which is
you have, yes,
unprecedented.
Your badger friend.
Yeah, I've painted up another model for burrows and badgers, or is it beavers and lodgers? Can never remember. Yeah, got a actual badger done. Who I don't know if I am happy with his paint job, but I just couldn't be asked anymore.
I like it. I think it's good.
I think that I did the yellow and red the wrong way round, because I think that the red should have probably gone in the recess of his. He's got like a kind of I think they're called like Landsknecht. Like they're these Renaissance troops that used to wear kind of the like clothes with kind of strips in so that you could see the color underneath. So he's dressed like that, which was a bit of a ball ache to paint, I won't lie. But I think I should have done red in the recess than yellow on the outer bit, because I don't think you really see the yellow that much.
I see.
But never mind. He's done.
Have you got a full army now? A full list of
No.
animals? No?
Well, the trouble is because I'm working on 2 warbands at once, I've been kind of doing them alternating. So I've got half of 2 lists.
Oh. You didn't fancy finishing one list?
I do have a full warband of rats that I converted from some Skaven models, which I might have spoken about before.
I don't know if you mentioned it on the pod, but
I'll whack a picture up. Why not?
Yeah.
So that is the only full warband that I've got so far. Yeah, working on that. But I did do some Middle Earth painting, because I painted up Bilbo, and everyone's favourite and the best hero in the game, Lobelia Sackville Baggins. OP, please nerf. Just too good. I mean, 15 points, and you get 3 will for that. She's basically free.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, yeah, but will on a model that isn't going to do very much else.
No, I will not hear this. She has a fate as well. That's 20 points right there.
Her rule is amazing, though.
You're getting basically 5 points of fate for free.
Tell us about her rule.
Value. What, the rule that she's not allowed to wound people?
No.
And anyone within 6 inches of her can't use a hero standfast.
That's the one.
Which is exceptional in an all-hero list, because it
is. It is exceptional. It's
Hashtag
really
OP.
She is good. But she's very easy to kill, so that's one downside.
Yeah. I mean, I'm viewing her as probably a model that I can leave on an objective, and I hope that she doesn't get sniped.
Yeah.
But she won't get sniped by magic because of that 3 will.
Exactly. And resistance to magic. She's just very strong.
Yeah.
Just too good. The Witch King would struggle to that dart.
Yeah.
Physical combat's not her strong point, but very good otherwise.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Bilbo, who I did a little bit of, not exactly a conversion, it's more of a kit bash, I'd say, because I've got him up on the table. He's sort of mid-speech, I guess, in his party, and he's got the 1 ring, ready to turn invisible, even though in-game, because Frodo's in the army, he won't be able to use it. But, you know, never mind. Yeah, so that's the painting I've done. Quite happy with it. I deliberately kind of used, I can't remember what colour it's called, but kind of like a slightly purpley red that GW do. So I deliberately did Bilbo's jacket in it and Lobelia's umbrella and dress.
Is it a contrast, or?
It's not a contrast. I just can't remember what it's called. But I'm planning on that being kind of like the running colour throughout. The only difficulty will be trying to work out how to get it on Gandalf. Gandalf might not have it.
Can you see his boots?
His boots are white and
his boots aren't really purpley red. I might put a bottle on his base that's purpley red or something.
His shoelaces.
I'll find a workaround. I don't think he has shoelaces, I'm going to be honest.
Just get 1 hair.
I don't know. Gandalf might just not have it. So he'll be fine. Anyway, yeah, that's the painting I've done. So yeah. Should we move on to news, of which there isn't much? So what we're really going to be talking about is the new rules that they put out. The free rules. There's one thing that's newsworthy, I'd say, which is that there's a made to order of the Breaking of the Fellowship. And for those people who want their Fellowship with elven cloaks or don't like the plastic version, it's another opportunity to go and grab that. So that's pretty good.
Why not?
Have we had cost yet for it, or is that I'm still waiting? Okay.
I imagine it'll be in the £50 mark. Did you just knock your wine off?
No, I knocked something else off. My wine's on my left-hand side.
Oh, thank goodness. A little bit of news then. So obviously we've got that made to order. We've also got very exciting Rings of Power episode 4. Thoughts? Very quick thoughts, non-spoiler thoughts as well.
7.5 out of 10.
Yeah. Pretty high.
I liked most of it. I forget which bits I liked less, but it was just sort of. I like the spoilers. Are we doing spoilers?
You just said.
I literally just said no spoilers.
I liked the bit with the. Yes.
That's
not a spoiler.
Good. OT, what do you think of Rings of Power episode 4?
I don't know. I mean, the story is starting to develop, isn't it? Things are starting to happen, and like it feels like we're going somewhere. It shouldn't have taken this long. Is my slight issue. And I'm starting to take more and more issue with the writing as we go. I think the writing is fine, but I think the writers think they're better than they are. And like I was saying to Onod when we were talking about our reaction to it, like the long dialogue scenes aren't really engaging me, and I just worry that that's the direction we're going. And I don't know, I'm not fully feeling it. But like I think this episode was maybe even my favorite so far. Like I think I actually maybe preferred it over episode 2, just because it's nice to feel like we're going somewhere, and I didn't have that feeling in any of the previous episodes. So that's positive.
I think for me, what's starting to, for me, kind of develop as my overall thought of this is that it looks great.
It looks phenomenal. It looks so good.
The plot is interesting, but it's just too slow. Because a slow TV program works when it focuses on things like the characterization and like in-depth character study and like it's building suspense. Like think about like slow TV shows which do really well, people really like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, the early seasons of Game of Thrones. Like those kind of shows where they like really focus on characters. This isn't really doing that. Like the characters are very shallow. The dialogue isn't really doing anything other than exploring the plot. Like there's not much going on with the characters. It doesn't feel like they're really developing. And my feeling is that the more I watch, the more I'm like, this is a TV show because they want it to be a big TV show, but really it should be a film.
I think part of the issue for me is how much the good characters are standing out. Like, I have really latched on to Elrond and Elendil. Those are my two characters. I'm buying your performance. Like, it's a bit like Ewan McGregor in the prequels, where like he stood out because he committed to the role and like he really bought into what they were doing.
Yeah.
Whereas like I still have an issue with Galadriel, and she's got so much screen time, and like I don't think it's anybody's particular fault. I'm just not really feeling the character. So,
I think the actress is doing actually a good job with Galadriel. I think she's the right one. I think that for what they want her to do, she's doing that well. Yeah. It's like her character is just so rigid, and I get that they're like trying to do like a bit of a fish out of water and a like, you've got to learn these like human ways. But she's bloody like, isn't she something ridiculous like 14,000 years old?
Years old.
Like, I'm a bit confused by
quite a lot of
situation. Yeah.
Like she's like Hayden Christensen in the prequels. Like she's doing a fairly good job. But if you want her to talk about sand, she's gonna fuck it up. Like it's not on her.
But the annoying thing with her characters, like this is where like the writing, the characterization doesn't make sense. She's having a human who's like he's not even a Numenorian from a lore perspective, so he's probably about 30. Tell her how to handle a political situation with a queen, which Galadriel's been doing for like 14,000 years. How does her character go from being this to what she is in Lord of the Rings? That's the annoying bit about Galadriel. It's not that she's allowed to like have a sword. That's fine. Like who really gives a shit if Galadriel has a sword?
Racist people on the internet do, and sexist people on the internet
and sexist people on the internet. Thank you. Interesting to bring up race. But
We've lost all of our Uruk-hai listeners.
Yeah, no, not the Uruk-hai.
It's okay. They all look the same. We won't notice.
But it's just like it does. The writing is. It could be better.
It's not awful. It's not awful. I will say, like, I'm not fully saying it's terrible. Like, I'm like the dwarf plot and Elrond. I'm still really liking. Like, that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love Durin.
Yeah,
Durin's really cool.
Durin.
Sorry, Durin.
Durin, yeah. No, the dwarf plot is the best bit, and the Numenorian stuff is interesting as long as you look past some of the clumsy writing, and then the rest is a bit kind of. It's
Also,
fine to further the plot, but I'm not really invested in the characters.
This bit isn't spoilers, and I'm phrasing it in a way that isn't spoilers. The slow-mo scene in the wood. Why did that last so long? Like,
well, that's the thing about pacing, isn't it? It's just like the reason why that scene exists, and this is something I've noticed, is that scene is the Boromir death scene, and they've slowed it down to make it. Oh no, we can't do that. Spoilers.
Shit.
I quite like the orcs though. The orcs are really good.
All
the costumes.
The orcs are well done, and the
voicing is excellent.
The lore for the orcs is actually spot on with them, like not going sunlight and everything like that. Yeah, but
like
really good.
I would go as far as saying, like, I think they're almost the high point of the series. Like,
probably
that. The way that's. I'd say I thought the reveal of the character at the end of the previous episode was slightly underwhelming, but that was fine.
Like, it was built up quite a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah. But
I think the issue with something like that is, and I'll cut this bit because it's a spoiler.
But you're going to say it anyway.
I mean,
that's going to be the cold open. Just spoil it for everyone.
He could be, yeah. No context. Fucking Rings of Power spoilers. Good. I think we'll move on then, and we'll have a look at those new SBG rules. Let's talk about these new quick start rules. We all read through them
briefly.
Yes.
I'm definitely not just reading them now.
I read them before.
Good idea.
There's one whole scenario, guys. It's fine.
It's one whole scenario.
It's a real creative scenario as well.
Yeah.
The forces clash. The name couldn't even be more vanilla, could it?
What are the objectives, though?
The vague things happen on the battlefield.
There is a conflict of some form which you need to resolve.
The two enemy forces have come across each other as they march to war, thrusting them both into an impromptu battle. Wow. Very creative, GW.
The best bit is the objectives, though. This is a battle to the death. The first side to wipe out all their opponent's models is the winner.
In fairness, though, when I was teaching this to my partner, this is what we did. It was just like, I don't want to have to teach you how to play a scenario.
I think this is where we can talk about, does it succeed in achieving the role of new people getting into the game? Yes. But I think once you've played like 2 or 3 games, you need to then play with the real rule book. I think there are a couple of issues which I'm sure OT has very strong opinions about, because I think he made a spreadsheet.
That's just who he is. He's just.
I mean, that's my default reaction to any sort of issue in my life, is just make a spreadsheet.
Anything that happens is a spreadsheet.
It was quite interesting, though.
The spreadsheet then. There's 2 things I think that we potentially take issue with. Number 1 is that there's no rules for terrain, which is fine for starting out, but obviously it does kind of.
But there's also no way of buying, unless you're using shoe boxes and mugs and stuff you've got at the house. There's no terrain in any of the starter boxes, so I think it's fine that there isn't any.
Well, other than the Osculiath one, but obviously that comes with the main rule book. So I mean, it is fine again for starting out, absolutely no problem. But obviously, I think most people when they're starting out would like some terrain, even if it is just some boxes and stuff. But again, not really a problem. The main perhaps issue is the forces aren't very well balanced, and that this is where OT can use his spreadsheet.
Whack it up on screen.
I could actually send you a screenshot at this point.
I don't want one.
I want one.
Okay, fair enough. So I haven't fully maximised the points, but I've taken what is reasonable in like a max point scenario. So Gondor has just under 550. Isengard has sorry, I've got that wrong. Yeah, Gondor has 550. Mordor has about 430. Isengard has about 630. Rohan has about 390, as long as you put throwing spears on people. Yeah, so essentially in the same box, you're getting, if you compare like the best case and the worst case, Isengard and Rohan have about 240 points difference between them.
And this is for the new battle host kits.
Battle host kits that they have the rules for.
I would say though, I think we can cut them a little bit of slack in that, for example, Saruman for a new player isn't going to be particularly easy to use in a very effective way. Like you're not going to be pro game moving him out and using him to his full ability, and because he does cost so much, you might just end up charging him in because you don't know what to do with him and use him like a combat hero. In which case,
this is true. But think about how many fight 4 Uruk-hai you get versus all the other armies having fight 3, and the only scenario you're provided with is just kill everyone. So there's no tactical flexibility.
Isengard get 420 points worth of troops. Everybody else gets about 270.
I mean, there's lots of easy solutions. There's lots of easy solutions to this. I mean, the reason they've done this is because Isengard don't have cav unless they gave them wards, which presumably they didn't want to. Solution number 1 is you just play with the same number of models, which does actually bring Isengard to about 500 points. Which is then fine. So it's like, I'm sure new players could probably roughly look at it and go, "I've got way more models than you. I can remove some." Other solutions, possibly. I don't know. What were you thinking, AT, for some other solutions?
Rohan need more. I don't think that's a question. To be honest, if you really wanted to balance the points, you could just give them another box of cav, and they would still be underpointed compared to all the other lists except Mordor.
And I mean, for a new player, they probably are just going to go and buy more Rohan cav, aren't they?
I don't know. Like, what my solution for Mordor is, you just switch out the Mordor orcs from Morannon orcs, and then it just brings the points to be a bit more reasonable without changing the troops around too much. Like, that just balances it out a bit more nicely.
They won't have rules for them though.
Yeah, well, but that was if I was designing this and I wanted the points to be equal, that's what I would have done. But I mean, they're fine, and like I think they all represent a pretty reasonable value proposition. It's just that the reason, for instance, Gondor is such good value is because you get Gandalf and Pippin, which is about 270 points worth. So like that's a lot of points for what you're getting. So yeah, I think they're not awful. It's just I think it could have been done a bit better.
The boxes are very good. It's just weird how they didn't need to give you points. They could have just said, from this box, a starting army is Eomer, 12 cav, and all 24 Rohan infantry. And then for the other boxes, just take out a few. And then they didn't need to give you points, but you could still make it so that people... Because unless you've got someone experienced teaching you, it might lead to a bit of a kind of, well, this is dumb. Why are Rohan so underpowered?
I guess it's because they're selling it in like boxes, are they? So like, would adding one more box of something take it too far? Is that
no? I'm not saying add more. I'm saying in these rules, why don't they just say, we're giving you all this box so you get models really cheap, but this is your starting list, and it's the Witch King. It's 18 orcs and 6 wargs, and then you kind of make the points closer to the Rohan. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe just throw in like a few lists in there.
Yeah.
So start out with like just infantry at like 100 points or something. Yeah. And then
because they give you a stat line for the troops, but they don't give you any kind of, you need stuff to be in a war band, or you need they don't need to give you that. I just think that they could have done something to make it so that if you got 2 people who'd never played the game before, one bought Rohan and one bought Isengard, because they're like, these 2 forces match each other, and then obviously the Isengard player just wins every time they play.
Well,
I also like. There's no indication of like the points values of any of these models, and I think it just doesn't give you like a gist of how relatively powerful things are.
Yeah.
And I think they could have put that in without giving you the points values and all the rules and stuff. Like if they give you like a power level, for instance, or something of a model, like for instance, nobody's ever going to guess when they're starting the game that like a Morgul blade is worth more than like an entire orc with a shield and a spear. Like I don't think anybody would make that jump. So like I get that they couldn't just give out the points values because then there's no incentive for people to go and buy the army book, but some kind of indication that, you know, the Witch King fully kitted is 200 points, whereas a normal dude with a spear is 7 or 8 points. Like some kind of indication of that, even if it was just a bit vague, would have been nice. Because
the other thing is, without the special rules, the worst army, Rohan, are even worse.
Yes,
they don't have any of their expert rider rules. They don't have any of their expert strength.
I think another box of Cav would have been nice in there.
But I mean, I'm still glad that it exists. Like, as much as we're critiquing it, I think for new people who just want to throw down some models just to get a taste of the game without buying the books, it's a good idea, and it's a good move in the right direction.
More stuff is good, I think.
Exactly.
I just don't know if it gives people an idea of like why people like the game as much as they do. Like, I think it shows you how to play it. I just don't think it gives you as much of the full experience as I was hoping. Like,
I don't know. I was impressed that they kept in Might Will Fate, because that's quite a complicated mechanic.
Yeah.
Like with the management of resources. So I was kind of expecting they might cut that. So I was glad to see they kept that.
Are there heroics still, or is it just modifying?
It's just modifying.
I mean, it's not that complicated a mechanic. I think it's the opportunity to do heroic actions is what makes heroes so complicated, because it gives you so many options. You know,
with 3 of the lists having a magic user, that is...
I think there'll have been a trade-off between either putting in heroic actions or explaining magic, and I think they've opted to go with magic. And I think of the two, it's better to put in magic.
Yeah. It's a shame they didn't leave in 1 heroic so that EMA could do heroic combat.
Just the 3 basic heroics, I think, would have been good. Move, because it changes a lot of the game, being able to heroic move, shoot, and combat.
Yeah, but never mind. Doesn't.
We shouldn't complain too much. Like, it's a really good thing.
It's free stuff,
and like they've put effort into these clearly. Like, there isn't anything glaring that they've missed, and it'll work fine for the first couple of games, and then you'll go to your local GW store and find that they don't stock any Lord of the Rings stuff. So you can order it online.
Oh, jeez.
Perfect sales technique. Right, we're moving on. We're talking about some Legendary Legions then. We've got the last 2 Gondor War. They're probably not going to be quite as lengthy a discussion as some of the previous ones. So we're looking at, I don't know what they're called.
So we've got the Return of the King.
There we go.
The Grey Company.
Return of the King and the Grey Company. We'll edit that so it sounds like I'm not incompetent.
Cool.
Could I do the Return of the King, please?
No. AT, would you like to take us through Return of the King?
Can I do the Grey Company, please?
Yes. You may.
Thank you.
May I take us through Return of the King? We'll do Return of the King first.
Okay. I'm asking to do Return of the King because I have played this a lot. I've done it. I've used it in basically every opportunity where I've had to take a good army that I don't want to take purely for fluff, although it is very fluffy. My brother and I took it to a doubles tournament. It was a 5-game event. We came second, losing the last game to the winners. We should have won it, but because I have very poor communication skills, we're playing Fog of War, and he went for the wrong terrain piece, but I wrote down different terrain piece. So anyway, it's I think it's very good. So I will just read through what it is. So the Return of the King, it's essentially Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli with the Dead of Dunharrow capturing their attack on kind of Pelennor fields. So the limitations for this are that it has to include Aragorn and the King of the Dead, and Aragorn is always the army's leader. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli may all lead Warriors of the Dead and Riders of the Dead in this army list. So they can be taken as troop choices for those guys. So you've got Aragorn, Strider, who can take Elven Cloak, Legolas, who can take his usual stuff, Gimli, the King of the Dead, and then Herald of the Dead, Warriors of the Dead, and Riders of the Dead. The special rules are Aragorn does not have to pay any points for Andúril, Flame of the West. He automatically has this upgrade. It is free. So, I mean, straight away, you've got a really nice bonus there where you're not having to pay for his nice sword. Then we've got the King of the Dead. The King of the Dead gains the Harbinger of Evil special rule, which is a 12-inch -1 courage debuff for enemies, which is really useful for Warriors of the Dead. In fact, it's actually incredible. Then we've got spirit models from this army list count as being in range of a banner if they're within 6 inches of Aragorn, which is nice. But because Aragorn isn't a banner, he's not counting as a banner for objectives, so you'll probably find yourself taking a banner regardless. And I think the kind of hero tier list is pretty much always, well, it's going to have to be Aragorn and the King of the Dead. And then at kind of higher points levels, you're going to be taking Legolas or a Herald, probably Legolas. And rarely in a competitive list will you see Gimli, but sometimes you will. You just need Legolas to be shooting peeps and be that honesty bow, dismount important enemy heroes and stuff like that. But otherwise, the King of the Dead and Aragorn can kill pretty much anything in the game. I've killed a Mummock, I've killed the Balrog. They're really good together. And the Harbinger rule, the special rules are just really solid. So that's the Legion.
And I don't want to start the Men of the West bashing early, but I'm going to. Can we just talk about the fact that in this list and the list we're going to talk about, you get Andúril for free, and then in the other Aragorn list, you don't get any kind of point discount? I know that you don't buy Andúril as an upgrade, but that's just stupid.
But he's including the point. Andúril's including the point, so it should have been
they should have given you a deduction, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I agree. In the Isengard, I think it's in the Helm's Deep list, you can take a troll with a drum for free, but usually the drum costs points. And I don't think that's been FAQ'd. I think it might be deliberate. I'm not really sure why, but you're right. They could have just included Aragorn in the Middle of the West for cheaper or done something cool.
Yeah. Anyway, let's not bash on Middle of the West. We've already done that.
Okay, that already dead horse.
Very dead horse. That's why there aren't any in the list.
Was
Right.
it ever alive?
Probably not. Probably not. Do we like this list? Should we just quickly run over? Because I think we all like this list, don't we?
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't. How much does it cost to build? Do we know?
You'll be
did
glad. You'll be glad.
There's actually a spreadsheet for this.
There's actually a spreadsheet which I've shared with you, and neither of you have opened. So
right. Is it a sheet document? Is it a Google Sheets?
Oh, don't act like you're interested now for the camera.
I
Right.
have opened it once. So I opened it once. Fake news. I opened it just to look, and then I read and I switched it off again.
The answer to your question, thank you for asking, by the way. It's nice that people ask. Return of the King is roughly 65 to 70 quid for a 400 point list, and then actually almost exactly the same for a 650 point list.
Insane value. Incredible.
Yeah, well, it's part of because the way this is boxed is because you have to get King of the Dead. He comes with a Herald, and I put in a Herald at 650. And then like the way I got hold of Aragorn was I just bought the 3 Hunters box, and then also I put Legolas in at 650, so the point doesn't actually go up. And then because you get the Warriors of the Dead as a plastic box, you can just put in as many as you want, and you get good value. So yeah, it's really good in that regard. It's well under average in both categories. So
do you put any riders in your list?
Well, so this is actually a note I made in my Google document that goes along with the Google sheet.
Didn't ask, OT, but you can't do anyway. It's fine.
I think it's important people know, because if I'm not going to talk to you about it, who I am going to talk to you about. So the ride.
Sorry, this is all being cut. So.
Let me talk. The Rides of the Dead are packaged individually, so they're really weird. They're £10 each, which is fine. I think you probably need like one at £6.50, maybe two if you can fit them in. But like,
I think two.
They're a bit fiddly, and I can understand why you wouldn't put them in if you want to keep cost down.
This is just your friendly reminder that the Ride of the Dead is a 100% metal miniature, and yet £2 cheaper than a Rohan Royal Guard, which has a plastic horse.
A plastic horse.
Matt, do you just take two riders then in your lists just for a bit of?
Yeah, I think you want one in each warband, really. I mean, you've got Aragorn with his free march, which is really nice. But having the flexibility of a rider is really useful. So, and they're pretty good as well. Being able to get a knockdown on models where you need them is really good. You know, have a rider lurking around Aragorn or the King. Knock down an enemy if you can't trap them. Get double strikes. That's, you know, when Aragorn's wounding on 4s and the King is probably wounding on 4s or 3s and instant killing, doubling their attacks is really important. So, and having one allows your opponent to just snipe them. Also means you have a bit of a better chance on reconnoiter and stuff like that.
I think a slight problem I had with the Cav is that as good as they are and as tough as they are only fight 3. I think, yeah, the fight 3, and like, I just wonder, like, on the charge, if you're actually going to win that initial combat a lot of the time.
If you're comboing it with Aragorn or the King, it helps. But I think the other bonuses they have are still like good enough to make you take them.
I mean, they're the ultimate objective cappers. They're courage 6, so like, if it's at the end of the game, it's not like a warg rider or something, or a warg. Like, just stick it on objective and it should be fine.
Very versatile, yeah.
But you do pay a lot, like 25 points or 24, sorry.
24, yeah.
I quite like that you can build the force like fairly cheaply and then add more models and build it.
Yeah.
I actually saw quite a cool idea on Reddit today for this, for a bit of a money saver, which is to just use Morgul Knights as the riders, because you just paint them as spirit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But then, like,
how much are the Morgul?
I think they're 30 quid for 6, so they're basically half the price. I think they're the same as Riv Knights. Yeah. But I mean, the Riders of the Dead aren't ridiculous. Like, at least they are full metal. It's not like bashing again the Royal Guard. Like, I don't get it. Yeah. But yeah, but it's really cool Legion, and I don't understand how you can have any major issues with it. Like, it's really good.
We'll come back to this one and maybe discuss. I mean, we're probably not going to find any needs to change it, but before we discuss it a little bit further and we rank it, should we talk about those Ranger boys?
Yes.
Do you want to take us through?
So it's the Grey Company. I think this one's from the book, so I think it's the book equivalent of the Dead of Dunharrow. So you get the same 3 hunters. Couple of differences. You can take Aragorn with armor and a bow, which you can't do in Return of the King, which is nice. I think the armor especially is quite nice. You get Halbarad, because obviously it's Rangers of the North, and he can take the banner. Legolas, armor, cloak. Gimli, you can take a cloak if you want, and then you can take Elladan and Elra here, which is nice. I don't know if you do that, but you might do that. And then the rest of it's just Rangers of the North with their spears for 1 point. You always have to take Aragorn, who's the army's leader, and you just basically always deploy as a single warband, which I guess you probably do anyway, because you probably don't have that many numbers. They basically keep their rule from their normal army bonus, so they get Woodland Creature, and they have 2 attacks while they're on foot, which everyone's going to be in this army, so they're all 2 attacks. And
Is that Ranger specific? The Rangers have two attacks.
Rangers have always while they're infantry. And they can get the stand fast of any of the heroes. And then Aragorn gets the Anduril for free, same as in the Return of the King.
Okay.
Pretty good. It's another one where you can run it all bow if you want to.
Yeah.
But even then, you've not got that many.
Not that many, but high quality bows with the option of every single one of them being able to call a heroic accuracy if you want, 3-ups to hit. All of them have a might point.
Mm-hmm.
You do have some good archery in there, but I think really their strength comes from two attack ranges in the north and having very strong heroes.
You get a stupid amount of might in this list. Like in all of the lists I built, like it depends how you classify Aragorn. Like maybe you say he has like 7 or 8. I don't really know. But you're getting 10 plus might at 400 points, pretty much however you run the list, which is pretty cool. So that's definitely something to consider.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure it has the numbers. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's good enough. I almost wish there was maybe like a reskinned. What are the like? You know, the normal rangers. Almost like a reskinned Ranger of Gondor. But so you can just have a little bit more numbers. Not so much that you can just spam bows, because obviously there's still a bow limit. But obviously everyone's a hero in this list, so there's not a bow limit. Whereas if you had rangers, you could have like, just some numbers to pad it out. Because otherwise, I feel like it's too. I mean, all of your eggs are literally in one place, and they're all gonna have to fight as one, but I don't know.
They're all going
to get feels like, it just feels a bit, don't know, not that special. Yeah,
and I think the main issue that this list runs into is that the Dead of Dunharrow exists.
Yes.
And it's like, they're the same moment, so unless you're really attached to the book version where all of the rangers come down from the north and are kind of like, what's up, Aragorn? You just run the other one because it's more fun.
Yeah.
Is it more fun?
Well.
Is it more fun?
Yeah,
I take issue with that.
I think it is more fun.
I think it's better. I don't think it's necessarily more fun. I think
it is more fun.
But like with this, there's so much more. You've got 10 might. You could do a lot with it. Like you're going to lose a lot. Don't get me wrong.
But you can take basically that much might with the other list. I mean, you've got the 3 hunters, right?
Well, I mean, you're not putting the 3 hunters into Return of the King.
But you can. You're just swapping. So it's essentially the same list, like Ernald was saying. But you're swapping Elladan and Rohir and Rangers of the North for the King of the Dead and Warriors of the Dead.
The only way that it's
play very differently.
They do play very differently. The only way it's interesting is that the banner of Arwen Evenstar being 6-inch banner means that you can get some pretty good use out of all those heroes, which are fight for 2 attacks. Like they're going to hit hard, but that I don't think that's fun, because every game is going to be you will stand back and shoot against most opponents unless you are very unlucky to come up against some Isengard ballistas or something, because that's the only time that you wouldn't do that. And then when you do eventually make it into combat, you're just going to make a little ball of heroes around the banner, and you're just going to hope that you roll well, and that's just going to be every game.
But then, how will the Dead of Dunharrow vary every game? Like, are you not
just
I think form kind of a shield wall and then have Aragorn
just model count?
I think there's a lot more interest from using the Cav models to get a bit of maneuverability. I think that,
but you have access to more. I don't know. I think that
Aragorn supports by King of the Dead, so it leads to more aggressive play. Your models are a lot more sturdy, so I think you're more willing to also be less cagey and get stuck in.
Oh yeah, like
And you,
I
you don't
think,
have
I think
shooting to fall back on either.
Yeah. I think you'll move up and be more aggressive, but like I don't see how there's more strategy involved in the Dead of Dunharrow than there is with the
I didn't
Rangers
say
list.
strategy. I said fun.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But then I don't see. I think it's
The
just different kinds of
the
fun.
beauty of fun is it's subjective. So this is points
Yeah.
off.
Great. We're wasting our time.
I'm going to find a quote of OT saying that he doesn't like Range of Athelion, and then I'll insert that now.
But this is nothing like Rangers of Athelion.
No, it's not. It's not. You're right.
Thank you.
I don't know. I just feel like the fun thing about all hero lists is having different heroes with different special rules for me, like the Fellowship. Yeah. I feel like some of the fun gets taken away when they're just like a generic guy who just happens to have one might, one will, one fate.
I mean, part of the problem is they're not mounted, I guess, which means like you don't have the incentive to try and like charge in and get the bonus. Like
if they were mounted, they'd be sick.
Yeah, and like, but then also they shouldn't be mounted because obviously they weren't mounted at this point.
Well, they are mounted when they turn up in the books. Yeah. They have to dismount.
So we're going for our Mouth of Sauron argument where they were there. They were there at the start.
They have to dismount to walk to where the undead are, right? To go through, because in the books they're all there. It's not just Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. He walks up with like 50 other guys. Yeah. So you don't see them in combat. This is like them at Pelennor Fields, I guess. Mm. I don't know. They would have been more fun with horses, though.
Yeah. So is that what we're saying we might do to help fix this Legion? Do we want to go into that?
Are we moving on to that section?
It's difficult, though, because does it make it less fluffy?
Adding horses? Probably.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah. But then I feel like there are things you could do. I mean, what if you just took... I mean, for the list... you make use of Aragorn, the banner, and then just as many rangers as possible to make use of the
I think the main issue that this one has for me, if we're like really breaking it down, is you know how we've been saying with previous Legendary Legions that we don't really like it when their special rules are just the same as their normal rules, like for Army of the South.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That Passing of the Grey Company is exactly the same as their regular special rule that they get 2 attacks.
With a slight change for the standfast.
And they just get that standfast. But that standfast is not an interesting special rule. And why would you care about that standfast in an all-hero list? Like, it's like the most boring upgrade to a Courage 4 model that they can use the standfast as some Courage 5 and 6 models. Yeah. And then they get a free Anduril. But then when you compare it with a free Anduril, where you also get King of the Dead having Harbinger, and you get the spirit models being in range of a banner. Like, why isn't Aragorn a banner?
Yeah.
For the Rangers. I mean, I understand it's probably because they were like, well, they've already got a 6-inch banner. Who cares? You could have 2 banners. Just an instant way to make that list so much more fun.
The other option is you buff the banner of Arwen Evenstar and give a buff to Halbarad. Like maybe you give him like +1 fight or something. Like
why don't you make banner of Arwen Evenstar the same as the Rohan Royal Standard for this list?
Yeah,
I think that'd be more interesting than just stat buffs and being able to use a standfast. Like
it actually works with an all hero list. You give it the same FAQ rule so that you don't, because that would be even worse. That would be even worse.
That'd be so bad.
That'd be worse.
You give it the FAQ rule, but suddenly then you're like, hey, this is actually an interesting reason to have an all hero list where you have lots of rubbish heroes. Well, they're not rubbish, but you know what I mean. Yeah. And if you can regen their might, will, and fade, like suddenly that's interesting and like more fun to actually think about. Like, am I going to regen a regular guy, or am I going to be using my bigger hero's might a bit more kind of freely because I know I can regen it possibly? I just think like it's another one where it suffered from being in the first book, and they would have got more interesting stuff if they were in a later book, because we know they would have, because we've seen later books. So yeah, but that's what I don't know if you guys had a plan for what you'd change, but for Grey Company, I would make the banner of Arwen Evenstar. I'd make it work like the Rohan Royal standards that gambling has, and I would consider just making Aragorn a ban as well, because why not, really? And then I don't think I would change anything for the undead. I think that they are kind of already, like, they do exactly what you want them to do. They're exactly what you see in the film. There's no issues. They're not too strong. They're good, but they're not overpowered. They're in a good place to collect. They're like probably the best army for people just starting the game to collect, because painting's easy. You get to use cool heroes.
There's not a lot of model variety, so you don't need to remember 50 dudes.
There's not a high model count, so you don't need to like paint loads and loads and loads, but you've got enough that you know.
And the painting's pretty easy.
So I wouldn't change those, and I think that's going to be an easy ranking. But did you guys have any ideas for Grey Company about, would you make any changes?
I would have given all of the Rangers of the North the spear upgrade for free. I don't know how much that would do, but like it just might help them head into combat a little bit more.
Do they all come with spears in
well,
the kit?
There's 1 point.
Yeah, which
No, I
is
mean,
1 point.
In the kit, like the models you buy, they don't all have spears, do they?
If you're buying this kit, you probably are going to buy the 24 plastic ones, so half of them come with spears, I think.
Yeah.
But it's the Rangers of the North models are like, they don't all come with, like the actual models that don't.
The metal ones don't.
Yeah, but you can buy the Rangers of Middle Earth kit and then adapt, which is the way I'd suggest you do it.
You can use Rangers of Middle Earth for any of these. No one would have to do that.
I think it's quite interesting that all the actual heroes in this list, so Legolas, Gimli, Halbrand, and I think the twins have 3 might and strike, so they're all pretty good in combat. I don't know, like I just wouldn't put the twins in as is, and I feel like they could use a bit of a buff. But like I think there is space maybe in the list to give like each hero an individual rule, i.e., same as like Breaking of the Fellowship, but that might be a bit over the top. And also, you wouldn't necessarily have points to fit them in, whereas like you always do in Breaking the Fellowship. I mean, it definitely needs some kind of buff. Otherwise, it's just.
Well, what does your 650 Grey Company list look like then, AT?
It's not very good, but I took Aragorn with armor because I think you should take him with armor. I put in Halbrand with the banner because I think you should, because otherwise you don't have a banner, so you should put one in. Then I put in Legolas because I think Legolas is quite good, and then the rest of it's just 9 Rangers of the North. I couldn't fit spears in. The annoying thing is, because they're all heroes, you work in amounts of 5 or amounts of 10. So putting in like an amount of spears rarely works unless you. It's a bit like Riv Knights.
A whole hero just to give you the spears.
It's a bit, because with the Riv Knights list I've been building, like if it takes taking shields off 22 Riv Knights before you can afford, or 21 Riv Knights before you can put in another one, so you may as well put the shields on and just have a bit of points in efficiency.
I feel like I'd be tempted to put the spears on myself. Yeah, because actually I think spear supporting Legolas and Aragorn is more useful than having an extra guy.
I feel like with the rules, they've given Aragorn his thing for free, which fine, but it feels like they're trying to make everything else synergize by Rangers of the North benefiting from Standfast, from Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, and all the other heroes. But it doesn't feel like it pulls them together enough. It doesn't feel like they're working together. Maybe if they'll just add Bodyguard for Aragorn or something, and maybe give them something else that synergizes them. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any synergy happening. It feels like I'm just taking them as normal, and Aragorn gets a free sword. It doesn't feel cool enough.
Yeah, I think actually that's a really good idea and quite fluffy, giving them Bodyguard for Aragorn. It's like that.
But like, is even that enough? Like, it's cool, but
I don't think it's enough. I think it needs. There's some kind of synergy that needs to happen, but I don't know what that is. I wish I did.
I mean, maybe if Aragorn's in combat, everyone within like a certain Bubble can call a heroic combat or something
Or the
What
attraction
about-
fight, or
to try and help him. Like,
What
I like
about-
the idea of Aragorn ploughing in and then people trying to help him out.
What if we make this the Aragorn list? Like the Herald of the Dead is like the Aragorn's there, but he's not the main guy. This list is like Aragorn becomes like the best Aragorn ever, and you know the
so we're designing Men of the West. Is what you're saying? We're redesigning Men of the West again.
but better. You know the rules for the King's Champion, where the heralds may expend their own fate points on the champion's
Oh
behalf.
my God.
What if you gave them that for Aragorn?
Yes.
So you have all of these like little shitty one fate guys, and you're just like, yeah, fucking kill Aragorn now.
Yeah, that. Yes.
I actually don't think
that
that
would be
would be
amazing.
that. I don't actually think that'd be that obnoxious because you've only got 11 models, so any objective game you're already going to have to split them up. Aragorn can only kill so many guys because there's only so many turns in the game.
Yeah.
I think that'd be quite fun, actually.
I think that would be epic. I think you'd probably have to not give Rangers of the North 2 attacks to balance that out a bit. But yeah, it just becomes a death ball basically for Aragorn.
Just remember, you've got to get them in base contact with him.
Yeah.
So they're not just, it's not like an instinct, like you're not just instantly giving him something. There's like workarounds for that. But I think that would be quite good. But I think I'd stick with my original idea of just making the banner like the Rohan one, so that you can hand out a mic point every turn. So I just think that for an all hero list makes it interesting.
So if we change the banner and give him bodyguard, maybe that's where you'd start. Because like you're spending so much might with this list. I really like the idea of just like regaining some of that early on, because like you're going to be caught. I imagine you would probably move every turn or march every turn. Like you're always going to be doing something early game. So yeah, I think that would be good.
I mean, yeah, Aragorn would be very good with the ability to not only use free might regen might, but I don't think it's that sort of overpowered.
The only other issue I had is this army's quite vulnerable to magic. Like,
but they've all got a lot of will,
though.
Yeah,
but
and there's a lot of here. It's not like you can like transfix Aragorn and ignore everyone else. Like they're all gonna be doing stuff.
Yeah, but then I don't know how much the other guys are like. I think Aragorn's will is really valuable, but then I'd question. Like, I don't know how often they're going to be transfixing a single ranger.
I mean, think like the games that we played recently, how useful it was to be able to command a regular warrior because they can't resist her. You can't do that with this list because everyone can have one go resisting it.
It is only on one. It is only on one dice though. Like,
but that's
not
still so much better than just
nothing. That's
like
true.
nothing.
Yeah.
Should we rank them? So let's quickly run through what our ranks are. So we've got Fantastic, which is for those armies which we think are really good value for collectors, that have really fluffy rules, that are, going to do well in games, but maybe aren't, overpowered. They're, well designed. We've got Solid, where they do most of those things, but there's one or two things where we're not quite sure they're as good at. We've got Average, which is for those lists where we generally think that they're not worth taking over the normal lists. However, if you really like the fluff, then you might take them. And then we've got Whiff, which is for lists which are just, why would you take them and need a redesign, basically. I think Ghosty Boys is an easy one.
It's fantastic.
They're fantastic, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
I think it's the best Legendary Legion.
I would go so far as to say that as well.
My justification for that, for people who are getting salty, is that if somebody new to the hobby tomorrow was to come and ask me which Legion they should collect, it would be this one, because it's cheap, because it's quite easy to paint, and like, even if you're bad at the game, I think you're still going to do pretty well, because like it's really solid. Like it's like it's like dwarves in that they're high defense, and like they're just going to control the battlefield really well. So yeah, I think it's really good.
They're like dwarves, but they have good movement. So
yeah, and they can wound stuff because they have Blades of the Dead and Terror, and yeah, no, it's really cool. It's really cool.
Great company. As is, are probably going to need a bit more conversation.
Yeah.
Are they as bad as Men of the West? I think let's just have that conversation. I think
Not
they.
even close.
close.
I really like this Legion.
Okay,
I
interesting.
really like this Legion. And you're going to shit on it, and it's going to make me really sad.
I think they deserve more. I think, like, as an army design, they at least do what they're meant to do, whilst Men of the West doesn't.
Yeah.
So I feel like we can rule them out of the whiff conversation, because Aragorn is doing well. You do have utility. There is some synergy. It's not very good. You know, but it makes sense. So, OT, where would you put them then? You like it? You're not going to say fantastic.
I do. I really like it. I don't know. It's deceptively cheap. Because I think you're allowed to proxy for normal rangers, so that's quite nice. And you can just build it around 3 hunters if you want to.
Yeah, and then you just got to borrow Halbrad.
Yeah. I had it at the bottom of solid.
Okay. So, just to kind of help us out in our thinking, currently in solid, we've got Riders of Theoden, who we all really like. Just felt were just so astronomically expensive that we couldn't, in good faith.
Well, you two couldn't.
Yeah, we overruled you.
No,
Rangers of
that was
Theoden,
our opinion, which we
and
share.
Blackgate. And then in average, we've got Army of the South, and we've got Gothmog. I think that they are more in line with Army of the South and Gothmog than they are the others. And my reasoning for this is just because, much like those lists, they're just a normal list. They're just a normal list. The only advantage you get of this list over just taking this as a normal list is that Aragorn gets a free sword.
And the 2 attacks for
Rangers.
I think it's quite big.
Great company. You get that.
You get that.
That's the normal rule. That's the
I'm
normal
teetering
rule.
on whiff now. Now I've learned that.
You can ally in Eladan and Elrahir, and it doesn't cost you your army bonus, which is invaluable.
Because of course, you're always taking them.
Let's just read through the normal rule. All models from this army list gain the Woodland Creature Special rule, and the Rangers of North and Dunedain may benefit from the standfast of Arathorn, Halbrad, and Aragorn. Additionally, Rangers of North and Dunedain increase their attack value to 2. Now, this is why I think that this should be average. If you just take this as a normal list, you could take a cheaper version of the Ranger of the North. You could take a 25-point hero, the Dunedain, or you could take them all on horse, which is so much more fun.
Yeah.
But you couldn't have Eladan and Elrahir or Legolas and Gimli, although they're probably Green Alliance with the Fellowship anyway. Now I reckon they're yellow. I reckon they're yellow. I
don't think they're green, but I also wonder if you were building a list, like if I thought, right, what I really want in my army is Strider, Legolas and Gimli. What else am I going to take? My brain doesn't go Eladan and Elrahir and Rangers of the North. Unless I was trying to recreate.
That's your issue. That's not on the list. That's
just
a you problem.
Unless I'm trying to recreate this exact list.
I've looked through the alliance list, right? Rangers of the North are not Green Alliance with Fellowship, but do you know who they are Green Alliance with?
Elves.
No. Dead of Dunharrow.
No way. I feel like
you would rather take Rangers of the North on horse, backed up by King of the Dead and a warband. That's just a flat out, and it's just as fluffy, and it's a flat out exactly the same. The only thing you lose out on is you're not getting free Andril. It's a whiff.
No,
I'm sorry, it is. I'm sorry, it is.
Average.
What else is in whiff? Just the
Men of the West at the moment. Just Men of the West.
So
basically, I'm sorry.
We can't even.
Gimli. Where is the justice?
We can, in good faith, say that this is a good Legendary Legion when you can take an as fluffy and better list by not taking the Legendary Legion. It's a whiff. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's not more fluffy. It's as fluffy.
Yeah, exactly.
Average.
And Legendary
Very
Legions are meant to be more
I
fluffy.
Final offer, very bottom.
No,
of
you
average.
can decide is it whiff or bottom of average. You've got the casting
Oh,
vote.
he's going to say whiff, isn't he? He's just a Return of the King
Because
lover.
I'm sour from.
Yeah, Rise of Theoden. He's never
Yeah,
got
exactly.
Shit.
Oh, I don't know. It's difficult. Well.
Oh no! I feel like Onod in the flipping Men of the West, who was like, "Oh, it's solid." No, actually, it's whiff. Sorry.
Onod, if we leave Onod long enough, he'll convince himself everything is a whiff.
It is entirely possible.
I was originally going for bottom of average, to be honest. But after hearing all that, I think it's going to have to be a whiff for me.
They're in whiff. I've already put them in. I put them in before.
But it's really good. It's really good value. You don't have to pay that much money.
But you don't have to take the Legion for the value.
But just get people to take the Normie Army.
Just buy a fellowship.
Yeah, because then you'd have to buy a separate box for Dead and Done Harrow, and that'd set you back loads.
Good. So we have placed them into our tier list. So we've got a nice, good, different dynamic there. So we've put the Spooky Boys, as they are known, into Fantastic, and then we have put the sad Ranger Boys into Whiff, where they will remain. Poor Aragorn. Aragorn, we have put two of his legendary.
We've judged him quite a lot, haven't we? Yeah.
But we have put his best legendary legion in Fantastic, so redemption story there.
Yeah.
That takes us through then all of Gondor at War. So we're one source book down. The tier list is starting to fill out quite nicely. Are we going to do Scouring of the Shire next week? Is that the plan?
Ooh, yes, please.
Scouring of the Shire then next week. So we'll be having a look at the Hobbits and the Ruffians, everyone's favourite legendary legion. So that will be.
I think they deserve their own tier list. Now they can't be. They're not comparable to anything else on this list.
We will be putting them into the regular tier list, and there will be some very salty takes, I imagine. Yeah. So I look forward to that. Brilliant. Right. I think that's us done then. OT is looking very, very sad.
I was so hyped for them to be like middle of solid, just a bang average legion, but I don't know. I feel upset, and I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not collecting the Legion. So
I think if we were doing this from like a competitive standpoint, then we might not put them in whiff. But just from the kind of general like purpose of existing and whether they're good and everything, like they're just kind of pointless.
It was that green alliance. I should have checked beforehand. That was why.
You should have mentioned it.
It's the fact that they're yellow with Fellowship and green with Dead and Done Harrow. It's just a bit of a.
They're also green with Shire, so you could ally in Gandalf as well.
Perfect.
There you go.
I reckon they need a nerf.
Please nerf. Good. Right. I think we'll leave it there. So it is goodbye from us all. Please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube.
Oh my god.
That's right, we're introducing
Get
that
us
now.
to double figures.
Hit that bell. Oh, good.
For a once-a-week upload.
Yeah. You want to see that notification on Friday afternoon.
You don't want to miss the Christmas episode. Is going to bang.
A show which claims to be filmed in the morning, but is always released around 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, we don't have morning energy, do we? I don't think we're what people need in the morning.
I mean, we've made numerous references to the fact that you're drinking wine out of a pint glass. So it would be
well, I mean, to be honest, there have been times, and not actually that long ago, where I did used to drink wine at an appropriate time.
Wow.
So.
Well, on that note, it's goodbye from OT Churchill.
Yeah.
It's goodbye from the mayor.
Wasn't he really racist? I swear Churchill was like...
The comparison being better then. And it's goodbye from me. Bye, everyone.
You're not making this a thing. I'm not racist.